Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Donovan, and today we're going to take a look at an absolute beast of a device. This is from a company called Cubot, and this is their King Kong 3. And like I said, this is a beast of a phone. It's a rugged phone, and it is a budget-friendly device. So you can see it's available right now on gearbest.com for $160. So quick shout out to them for sending it out to me for review. And this thing packs a lot for that $160. Now, if you're unfamiliar with this right here, this is Chinese Singles Day, so 11/11 is actually the #1 global shopping day. So GearBest.com has a ton of great deals going on right now, so I'll leave a link down in the description for some of those deals as well. So this is the Cubot King Kong 3. On the back they have a list of some of the specs here. So we have IP68 water resistance, we have the Helio P23 processor, so that's the MT or the MediaTek 6763T, and that's an octa-core processor clocked at 2.5 gigahertz. We have 4 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of internal storage, and this thing does also support a micro SD card for expansion. We have a 5.5-inch IPS LCD display that's 18:9 aspect ratio, and for those of you who are wondering, it's a 720p display. So that's a bit of a negative. That's where you're getting a little bit of that cost savings with this phone. We have a beastly 6,000 milliamp hour battery. So it's a beast of a phone in terms of the design, but then also the battery size as well. So it says full netcom here. Well, what does that mean? That means basically this is a global version phone. So it pretty much covers all of the LTE band you're going to need almost anywhere. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that real quick while I have you here. Oh, I just hit something. What did I just hit? Let's try that again. All right, so we're going to go down here, and I just want to show you real quick, and I'm hitting lots of things here. So right down here are the list of LTE bands. So if you live in the US, for LTE 2, 4, 5, 12, and 17 are some of the most common ones you're going to need for T-Mobile, AT&T, and I will actually try this out with Verizon as well because they support band 4. My doubts are there that it will actually work, but we can go ahead and try it out. We have Android 8.1. We do have NFC built in, so for mobile payments, that's awesome. We have dual rear cameras, a 16 megapixel and 2 megapixel camera on the rear, and then we do, of course, have a front-facing camera, which is 8 megapixels. So without further ado, let's go ahead and unbox it and see what all you get in the box. So we got the phone all unboxed. As you can see here, it comes with a number of things. So we get our Type-C cable for charging it, and you can see there's the port here for charging it up. We do also have a Type-C to headphone jack or auxiliary 3.5 millimeter input as well. So obviously no headphone jack built into the device itself. We get a European plug for charging it, so it's a 2-amp charger. Also our SIM removal tool and some of our quick guides and all that good stuff. So I'm going to slide that off to the side. Let's go ahead and take a look at the device. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off because there is a screen protector that's on there. So that's nice that they have that. And let's go ahead and power it on. But before we do that, actually, let's go ahead and just take a look at the device itself. So you can see here we have a flap for our charger. So if you want to charge it up, you're going to have to remove that flap. So there's our Type-C. Along this side, we have some very beastly metal designs here with some screws in here, and we have a button. I'm not really sure what that button is quite yet. Here is our SIM tray, so that does also house a micro SD card, and it's a dual SIM. So dual SIM plus SD card there. We have our volume rocker, power button, and again, that metal design with those screws on the side. So we have that nice rugged design. This is actually, I believe, metal as well. It feels metal. Then we have another metal casing here for our dual cameras, our dual flash 16 megapixel camera again. We have a fingerprint sensor, and we have our speaker down here, and then of course we have our earpiece up here and another camera up on the front. And on the top, just a screw. I don't really see anything else there, and nothing else on the bottom as well. So let's go ahead and power it up. I'll come back to you as soon as we get it all set up. We got the phone all set up, so I want to go ahead and show you a few things about it real quick. So number one, I did not download any apps to it at all yet. So you can see it comes with very, very basic apps. There's really no bloatware here. We do have this one called, what is this called? Cubot Power Master. Now that's actually the exact same thing as Duraspeed apparently. So Duraspeed is an app that allows you to basically just boost the apps that are in the foreground and kind of throw the apps in the background out. So you can see we have have some software keys here, so no hardware keys in terms of the buttons for back, home, and then recent apps. And then if we come down here in terms of our settings, you can see it's pretty much just stock here. Again, it's running Android 8.1, and really in terms of the actual software, really nothing special here. I actually don't see anything other than the Cubot Power Master in terms of the actual, oh, there is this indicator light here too. So let's see here. So indicator light is automatically on, it looks like. So I'm not really sure where that indicator light is though, to be completely honest with you. So we have a battery full, battery low, missed call, and unread MMS. So it's going to show you different colors, but again, I'm not really sure where that light is. It looks like there might be something here, but I'm not really sure if that's a proximity sensor or if that's an indicator light, because I don't really see one anywhere unless it comes on the back. I'm not really sure. I don't know. All right, so other things to mention here. So again, stock software, so far it's running pretty smooth. I'm going to go ahead and run a Geekbench score, so I'll have to download the Geekbench app. But notice here that with T-Mobile, we're getting 4G LTE, and yes, that is LTE. I'll run a speed test here in just a little bit as well. And we do have the option of voice over LTE with T-Mobile as well. So let's go ahead and download a couple apps, and we'll do some speed tests on here and see how she performs. All right, so I went ahead and downloaded Speed Test and also Geekbench 4. So I'm going to go ahead and do a quick live speed test here on the device. So you can see here I have my iPhone XS Max. Now, this one gets obviously much faster download and upload speeds than what you're going to get on a more budget-friendly device like the Cubot King Kong 3 here. So this is getting about 100 megabits per second for download and around 20 megabits per second for upload. And these are both on T-Mobile. So you can see here I got a T-Mobile SIM here and a T-Mobile SIM here. So we're getting about 25. That's actually better than average. I've been getting closer to like 24 megabits per second, and for upload I've been getting more like 5. So that's actually way low for, there we go. So it's now actually adjusting a little bit. But typically I've been getting around 20 and 5 for download and upload speeds here on the Cubot King Kong 3. So still not bad, but definitely not the kind of speed you can get with a more expensive device. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the Geekbench 4 scores here, and I have it compared here to the Mi A2. So this is the Xiaomi A2 Lite, and this is running the Snapdragon 625 processor versus the Helio P23. And I've had a number of devices with the P23 processor, and you can see here in terms of single core score, the P23 scores a little bit better than the 625, the Snapdragon 625 processor, but in terms of multi-core score, it's a little bit lower, and that's pretty typical, honestly, of the kind of experience I get with a device like this. So what I've found is that for light gaming, it's actually no problem, and you can actually run some pretty decently heavy graphic intensive games on here. You're not going to get the full frames per second like obviously you're going to get with something like an iPhone XS Max running a much faster processor, but you can still play most games, run social media on here with no problems, and overall performance usually on the Helio P23 isn't super fast, but it's also not super slow either here. So you can see if I go into my Google feed, no problems here. But overall, I think this is a pretty solid device for the price. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the last thing, which I think is probably the biggest weakness of this device, and that is the camera. So the camera, again, we do have dual sensors here on the back, so 16 and 2 megapixel, and then also that 8 megapixel front-facing camera. And you can see we have a few different modes here. So we have a panorama mode. Of course, that's going to give you that wide angle there, and then we have a blur mode, and I'm just going to be flat out honest here and say the blur mode is just terrible. So I'm just going to do a quick shot here of my McCafe cup here. And so the idea behind blur is that it's going to blur out the background, but instead what this does is it just kind of creates a blur of a circle, and just really doesn't work all that well. So I've done a few samples. So let's see if I have a couple of those samples that I tried out. That was just a nighttime picture. So this is just a regular picture of my Blue Yeti mic, and this is one with blur. So notice that it basically just keeps this stuff in focus and totally blurs out everything. So it's basically just a circle that's in focus, and then everything else just blurs out. So it's not a portrait mode, and it's definitely not giving that depth effect that you can get on more expensive devices. Then we do have a face beauty mode, and then also normal mode. So that's pretty much it. We do have HDR built in, and again, we do have flash, so it's on auto flash at the moment. In terms of video, we can only shoot in, let's go back in here. So we have 1080p on the rear camera and 720p on the front facing camera. So if I go over here, we do have electronic image stabilization, so that's nice. But so you can see video quality. We have 1080p again for the rear, 720 for the front, and video quality again is pretty subpar. It's not going to be amazing. They're not horrible cameras, but I certainly would not buy this phone for the cameras. But let's just test out two more things before I conclude this video, and that is going to be number one, the fingerprint sensor, just show you how fast that works or how slowly that works. So let's go ahead and do that in real time. So 1, 2, 3. So that one didn't work. 1, 2, 3. There it goes. All right, so it's pretty slow, but it works, obviously, and it's not working all the time. Now, I will mention that this button over here, I did figure out what that is for. It's basically just a dedicated camera button, so you can use that for your shutter. If the screen is on, you can go ahead and jump into the camera with that as well. Actually, if the phone's unlocked, I should say, and you can see now that it's unlocked, it's in camera mode, and then if I hit that button, it's our shutter. So that's really all that I can figure out that that button does, at least at the moment. So fingerprint sensor one more time. Oh, gotta actually have the phone off there. 1, 2, 3. All right, so it's definitely not the fastest fingerprint sensor, but it's nice that it has it. And the last thing I want to test out is the speaker. So we're gonna go here into YouTube. All right, so real quick, what I'm going to say about that speaker, it's actually pretty loud. It's definitely not in the ideal location, being on the rear here, but it gets relatively loud. Obviously, it's just a cell phone speaker, so you're not going to get a lot of bass out of it, but it's louder than I was expecting. But again, pretty terrible location. This is probably my least favorite location for any speaker. Alright, so there it is, a quick first look at the Cubot King Kong 3, and I think there's three main selling points for this device. Obviously, number one being that rugged design, and obviously being water resistant, waterproof really, is pretty awesome. Number two, that battery life, 6,000 mAh battery. We're going to have to test that out more, obviously, because in this first impressions video, I just haven't used the battery enough to really gauge how good it is. But 6,000 mAh, that's pretty promising. And number three is that price point. $160 for what you're getting here in this package, I think, is pretty awesome. And the fact that it supports so many LTE bands, including those for T-Mobile and AT&T here in the United States, is great. So anyways, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Peace.